Hello everyone, welcome back to another BrickSide Chat. We are on episode 37 this week, and we only have a few questions this week for this episode, but I think there's a few good ones on here that can help a lot of people actually. So first question here is from Chloe748, who says, now that you're doing used Lego as well, do you keep them separate from the new parts even if they are the same piece? And yes, we keep them totally separate. So let me explain a little bit. So these are both 2x4 black plates. This one might be new, and this one might be used. So this might sell for a little bit more than this used one. Also, certain people only want to buy a new part. They don't want to buy a used part. So this used one, they don't even want to look for. They're just going to ignore that it's used. And this new one, they're going to look for because it's new. Now, if we put these both in the same drawer, it'd be very difficult for us to look at it and figure out which one's new, which one's used, and all that kind of stuff, especially if you have a drawer full of, 100 or more pieces or something. So on BrickLink, they're listed as two separate lots, and then what we would do in this case is have them in two separate drawers. So this drawer here, which is 227, is the used piece, and drawer 822 is the new piece. And then when they order the new one, we go to this drawer to pick out the new one. If they order the used one, we go to this drawer here. If they want, they can order both, and then we just go to both drawers and pick out both pieces. Now, a lot of people have also been asking, do you keep it totally separate? For example, the aisleway behind me on the inside of that aisle, is that all new pieces, and then you're going to have a different location in the store for used pieces? I don't think there's a purpose to doing that. I don't think there's any reason we can't have a used drawer and a new drawer on the same shelf just next to each other. I don't see personally why we would need a totally separate area of the store that's dedicated to used, because at the end of the day, BrickLink itself is sorted by new and used, and it's totally separate, so we know if we're going to this drawer, we're going to here for a used piece. And if we're going to this one, we're going for a new piece or whatever it might be. Now, something else we're debating about, and this is something we've talked about, is we have dividers like this that can split a drawer into two sections. We're not sure if we're going to put a used on this side and a new on this side, or if it really matters. During our live stream this past weekend, we had some discussion in the chat. Some people said, no, you should dedicate certain drawers to used because they might have residual like dirt or dust that might be in there. We're not totally sure what the plan is yet in terms of separating drawers like this. The only thing I wouldn't do, even if these were two totally different pieces, one was blue, one was yellow, I probably wouldn't mix them if one is new and one is used in the same drawer. Mostly because of the potential for the used piece that is potentially a little bit dirty still, to get that new piece dirty and then be a little bit weird there. So probably wouldn't do that, but personally I don't have any problem with putting two drawers next to each other that are in sequence, and one of them might have new pieces, one might have used pieces. We just won't mix them in the same lot like that because on BrickLink they're listed as two separate pieces. Kind of a long-winded answer, but hopefully that kind of cleared up. There's been a lot of questions as to how exactly we're storing used and all that kind of stuff. All right, next question here is from Chrissy Faith, who, this is in reference to a shipping video. I'll put a card in the top right. A long time ago that I posted back in May on a little ship station that I kind of built. And Chrissy says, for those of us who aren't carpentry savvy, that's because I built the actual ship thing, what kind of organization table would you recommend? Now I'm going to take this question as, what would we recommend for shipping, like our shipping station, for example, if you can't maybe build something. What I would say is there's no reason you can't go buy a few of these bins or something and sort, and I don't have isn't full, but sort your mailers by bin. So maybe this is our 4x8 mailers. They might go in here like this. This is our I don't remember what these are. I think they're 7x10 mailers or something like that. They could go sideways in a bin like this. Whatever it might be, you can put them in different bins. What I would say is, the thing with our shipping station is it's not on top of the table, so we still have table space above it. If you're storing things like this on top of the table, you lose a lot of that space above it and stuff. So if you have a shelf or something you could put on maybe above or below you, I'd recommend doing something like that. Another thing is you may not always need shipping supplies out in the open available. A lot of people who are doing this out of an extra room or maybe their own bedroom can stick them in the closet on a shelf, and when you're packing orders, if you need one of these and one of these, it's really not a long journey to go walk over, pick one of these each, and then come back and print out the label and put the pieces in. So there's different ways like that. You obviously don't have to build a little thing. I just happened to have some extra wood that was sitting around that was not being used and it was in the way, so I figured why not build something that can be a little useful for us, and I built that thing that just kind of fits everything. But absolutely, this is the cheaper, much easier way to go if you want to sort things like that. Oh, one more thing with that question. You said, what kind of organization table would you recommend? I would say, once again, if you can put things like this where you can move it, Now, you might have this one table in your area. That's the only table you have. Well, if you're packing orders, you know, you're picking all the pieces, you lay it out, and then once you bag them, then you get out all your shipping supplies, put it on that same table. Your table is multifunctional or multi-purpose now, instead of just, for example, you know, only being a shipping table because you have built part of a box on that table or something like that. If that kind of makes sense. It's usually best. Fortunately, we have a counter space and the part out table space, so we have a decent amount of, I guess, countertop area that we can use. Fortunately for us, we have that until we continue expanding. We're going to start losing some of that. But a lot of people don't have the luxury of having so much space, so if you can have one area that you can use for multiple tasks, that would be absolutely ideal. Okay, next question, very simple answer from Pixelated Dreams says, if you were unable to get a decent discount on sets and unable to get the 3 times part out value, would you still buy sets between 2.5 and 3? Yes, we'll go down to about 2.5. We will never go lower than 2.5 on purpose, but we'll go between 2.5 and 3. Obviously, the goal is upwards of 3. Right now, we're kind of shifting gears a little bit, moving into a lot of the used pieces. So it has changed a little bit in terms of our buying practices for new. It may not make sense anymore to go 2.5 because if there isn't money for new, or if there is money but there isn't money to go find a 3 times part out value, then maybe we'll just take that money and go buy used Lego, and the margin's higher and stuff anyway, and we're still adding pieces to the store. So since we're no longer doing only new, we probably will discontinue the idea of going below a 3 times part out value, moving on into the future now. Next question here is from, I think it's J Diddy D or something like that. I apologize if that's wrong. If there's a certain piece that is selling like crazy, is there a way to know what set that piece is in so you can attempt to buy more sets containing that piece? And yes, there absolutely is. So if you go to the page, you know, a piece page or a page where there's a certain piece, any piece. So if you're on BrickLink and you type into that top search field, you know, 2x4 plate, I will do this with you real quick. So 2x4 plate. If you type that in and you click on the first thing, if you scroll down and you choose your color, let's go blue in this case, you can see on the right side of the screen it says item appears in. And for this specifically, this 2x4 plate, it appears in 5,354 sets, 31 minifigs, 41 parts, tons of things here. But what you're looking for is that sets. So if you click that, it'll show you all of the sets that this piece comes in. Obviously, a 2x4 plate is going to come in literally thousands of sets. So in this case, it doesn't matter. But you can scroll through and figure out by color, or in this case, even by category, because there are so many options here. But yes, if there's a piece that you find to be really valuable, you can search that piece on BrickLink and then use that little section on the right where it says item appears in, and then you'll be able to see where that item comes. And then if it's worth it, you can go buy those sets so you can sell that piece. Next question here is from Casey Rydell, who says, how do you find out how many pieces are left? For example, in this case, this was a video I was picking orders on, I believe. She said, you sold the minifig plates and it showed you have 2 left. And in that case, we're supposed to have 2 left in the drawer. Is that a setting you can change? So yes, that is a setting you can change. Now, what if you're on a order, so go to your order page where you actually find all the pieces to pick and stuff. Once you're on that page, you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And in my case, it's on the bottom left. Depending on your screen size, it could be in a different spot, but you can see it says show quantity left in my inventory. If you click on that or refresh the page, and now next to the inventory number, or next to the number of items in that person's order, you can see there will be a number, and that's how many you're supposed to have left in your inventory. If you want to get rid of that column, how many you're supposed to have left, you can scroll back down and then you can click hide quantity remaining, or whatever exactly it says. So you can show it and you can hide it. And there's a few options there at the bottom. There's also a settings button that you can click. I believe it's called my settings. If you click that, it'll actually show you a bigger settings page and you can play around with those settings as well, which is pretty awesome as well. Finally, last question here from Joey4927, and this is one that, I'll read the question. How do you compete against other BrickLink owners? So I think the benefit, or the coolest thing about BrickLink is there's a lot of people shopping in the market. There are, you know, hundreds or thousands of people shopping for individual Lego pieces, and they don't always necessarily go to one store because they love that store. To an extent they do. You know, if they really like just a Brick in the Bucket, for example, they might come here because they like our store, they know our YouTube channel, whatever it might be, because we have the brand that they recognize and that's what they want. Other people just totally shop around. So part of the way you could compete, and not the way necessarily we compete, but by a way you could compete, I guess, is by pricing your pieces differently. So most people go at the 6-month sales average. That's what we do. We've actually started going 6-month sales average up a little bit, or 6-month sales average or above, depending on what piece and stuff. We won't go below the 6-month sales average. Now, occasionally, if we have a sale in our store, it probably drops below the 6-month sales average for most pieces, but it just depends. So you can compete with your prices. You can compete with shipping. You can say, hey, we offer free shipping. The hard thing with BrickLink is you can't really use an external source like a third-party third-party marketing thing and send people to your BrickLink store, because it's very easy for them to click outside of that store and go to a different BrickLink store. So in that case, we don't advertise or anything like that. YouTube is our best marketing tool. It's really our only marketing tool that we have. But that's, I guess, how you can compete with others. Again, with BrickLink, in all honesty, the amount of people in the community, I feel it's a lot less of a competition and a lot more of kind of this cool community coming together where certain people can buy stuff from other people and trade and do all these cool things. I actually would say there's a lot less competition than a traditional store that maybe is selling, I don't know, rollerblades or something. You know, there's if you sell rollerblades and your buddy next door opens up a store that sells rollerblades, well, now people have to choose, oh, your rollerblades or these rollerblades, because most people don't need 2 pairs of rollerblades, whatever it might be. But with Lego, they can shop here and here and here and here, and that's why I think BrickLink is not as competitive as other markets are, primarily because there's enough room for a lot of people. Hopefully those answers answered the questions that were asked. Thank you guys so much for asking those questions. As always, if any of you have any questions you want to see in the next episode of BrickSide Chat, please leave them in the comment section below, or the comment section of any video for that matter, and I will try my best to make sure we can fit it into one of these videos. Thank you all for watching. I believe that's it. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button. We will see you all in the next video.